This is Chad with Winning Tennis. In this video, I want to do a quick analysis of the Roger Federer serve. Let's play it. It's a slow motion. Alright, so as you can see, what he did here was he brought his hitting arm, his right arm, back. Notice that the racket is facing down. Okay, so his strings are pointing straight to the ground. His palm would be facing relatively down. And when he has his arm in this position where his racket is right about his chest, his hand is about his shoulder level, his tossing arm is almost completely vertical. And the ball has left his hand. Typically the ball is going to leave your hand right by the head. Let's take a look at where the ball leaves his hand. Okay. Right by the top of his head. So that's what I tell my students. Let the ball go about the top of your head. Let's just pause. Let's just rewind that again and see what he does. Okay, so he has the ball and racket together. Notice that he starts his toss from the left leg. That's where I tell my students to start the toss. Ball in the fingertips, arm completely straight. Okay, and notice how high the ball is going. It's actually going to go even higher. It's going to go out of frame. And if Roger is about 6 feet, 6'1", that ball is going maybe double his height or more. So he's tossing that ball maybe 11, 12 feet in the air. Now, from the position that we saw, which is right there, where the racket head is facing the ground, he's going to bring the racket up into the trophy position. Right there. So the trophy position is not something static where we stop. He's actually going to continue to move through it. So he never really stops there, but to the naked eye, it looks like he maybe stops for a second or two. Now you can see that ball is well out of the frame. You can't even see it. Notice his knees are bent almost at a 90-degree angle here. And look at this, he's on his tippy toes. Why? Because we can't bend down if we're on our heels. He's looking up at the ball. Okay, his elbow is here, it's kind of in line with his shoulders. And look at that, the tossing arm is still straight up vertical. A lot of club players would have dropped it by now. All right, so he's going to bring the racket trophy position, and this is the all-important racket drop. So you hear racket drop a lot in tennis. Right there. Right. Okay, let's just back that up a little bit. So here you can see, here's the racket drop. It's almost completely vertical, where the top of the racket is pointed straight down to the ground. Notice his elbow has come up. So let's replay that a little bit. So his elbow is down. Watch the roll of the elbow. Watch how the elbow has to go up. Okay, the elbow will go up, the racket head will go down. So let's bring that back. Okay, so he's dropping the racket. The tossing arm could start to come down. Okay, so he completes that revolution from the trophy position to the racket drop, and now he's going to spring up into the ball starting to descend. Notice he's coming on edge, right? So he's not aligning the strings with the ball. It looks like he's going to hit the ball with the edge of his racket like he's tomahawking it. Notice the 90-degree position right here of the arm and the wrist, okay? Also notice something, a lot of club players face the net at this point. Roger's chest is actually facing to the net post over here. So it's about a 45-degree angle that his chest is facing. Let's play it. Okay, so just before contact, if we could slow that down just a little bit, we can see, let's see if we could change the settings on this. Go to a slower speed. Let's really slow it down there. Okay, we slowed it down. Now watch Okay, it still looks like he's going to tomahawk the ball with the side of the racket. Still does. Okay, and when people talk about pronation, this right here, what he's going to be doing is pronation. Okay, so he turns the racket to face the ball, so he's hitting the ball right on the strings, and then, okay, the ball is gone, and right after he does that, he starts turning the racket to the side so that the thumb is going to be pointed down, right? So if he was sticking his thumb out, it would be straight down. So what the racket did here, notice what happened with the racket. It went from this position right here to that position, because it kind of flipped, right? So the strings were pointing, if you want to think about it like this, his strings, it's going back a little bit further, but you can see the racket drop here as he springs up. Okay, so his strings on the left side of the racket are facing the crowd right there, right? Those same strings right now are facing you here. So what the pros are doing, they're not only bringing the racket towards the ball, but they're pronating, which gives it 2 dimensions. So that gives it the extra speed that club players never achieve. And he's well off the ground here. He might be 8 inches off the ground, and both feet are off the ground. And what you're gonna notice is his arm is going to come through, and he's going to land on his left foot. Wow, he might be even a little bit more than 8 inches above the ground, and he's getting his weight into the ball. Okay, let's set that back. Let's play that one more time. Okay, so he's going to separate his hands. He's starting his toss from the left leg. Notice his hands are going unison, his arms I should say. Okay, so notice here where his tossing arm is completely straight and it's now by the shoulder, and this is where his racket is. And by the time his racket gets to the point where the strings are facing down, the ball's just about left his hand. Notice his eyes just upwards. He's just looking at the ball the whole way up. By the way, Roger uses the platform stance. He has both feet spread apart, about shoulder width, a little bit further maybe. Some players actually start like this and then they bring both feet together. It's called a pinpoint stance. Hey, and all the pros do a fantastic job of keeping that hitting hand up. And notice that he didn't turn his hand. That's what a lot of club players do, is they put spin on the ball by turning their hand, but he doesn't do that. Okay, so this would be what you would think of as the trophy position, where the hand is up and the racket is almost vertical. And now he's going to go into his racket drop. You need to have a loose hand right here. If you're very tight, you're never going to be able to whip the racket and drop it. It's going to create a full revolution here. It's going to drop down and circle back up. And for players that use a typical waiter serve, as we call it, this can be a very challenging thing, but I'm going to be putting out videos on how to go from a waiter serve and how to get the racket drop and hit like Roger. He's coming up on edge. This is another thing that is very difficult for people who've been playing a long time and have a waiter serve, because you have to trust that you're going to pronate at the last second, because if Roger just continued hitting like this, he would actually hit the ball on the side of his frame. Okay, there's the pronation. And look at how his arm is extended here. I see a lot of players with a bent arm at this point, so they're not getting maximum height. Here again, like he's about 8 inches off the ground. His arm is extended. Now the body does have to lean forward a lot, like more. You'd be surprised, but if you see some players, I've seen like Jeannie Bouchard, and her body was even more. It was like this much. So the body will lean forward here. That is completely normal for a great server. And now he completes his pronation, brings the racket through, and also he's bringing the racket to the left side of his body. If he was bringing the racket over, or if you see players keeping the racket to the right side of the body, for of course right-handed players, they'd be doing more of a second serve where the swing goes more cross rather than into the court. And he lands on his left leg. Picture perfect, right? Easy to do, no problem. Sure. Hey, that serve took a long time to develop. So if you want to serve like Roger Federer and you want to serve the correct way, it's going to take practice. It looks very simple, but it is deceptively difficult, especially if you've had bad habits your whole life. If you've never played tennis, or if you're a kid listening to this, I've taught kids, and if you know how to throw and you have some coordination, you could actually learn a very basic version of this serve within 5 minutes. I'm not kidding. I had a 13-year-old kid I was teaching, and he actually was able to get the serve. He got to the trophy position. He kept his hand up. He did the racket drop very well. You know, he didn't look exactly like Roger Federer, but it looked really good for someone that learned to serve in 5 minutes. Really, the most challenging people are those people that have been using wrong technique for years and years and years. And I was one of those people, so no knock on those people. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this analysis of Roger Federer's serve, the greatest the game has ever seen. And again, this is Chad with Winning Tennis. I'm going to be putting out more videos like this. If you like it, please subscribe for more videos and like. Thank you.